Seeds, Community Cafe, downtown Colorado Springs. For those of you who don't know what Seeds is or where it's at, stop by and see us. Seeds is we're a nonprofit. We serve locally sourced food. We provide it to folks regardless of their ability to pay or not to pay. There's no prices on the menu. We have a lot of local, fresh, healthy food. We think of food the way we grow it, the way we prepare it, the way we eat it. Seeds is a social experiment of sorts where you participate in what's going on. You come in and be part of it. You pay it forward. You come in and enjoy things. It's truly a hand up, not a handout. I often think of Seeds as Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving, to me, everyone comes and participates. Everyone comes and enjoys the meal. Someone may buy the turkey, someone may make the mashed potatoes, someone else sets the table, someone does the dishes, but everyone is involved in the experience and what goes on. That's what happens at Seeds, in what we do with our community. It's about food, but it's about lives. To really feel the essence of Seeds, I've got to take you back to some experiences that happened to me. And let's go back to the 1950s. If you can close your eyes. I grew up on a farm in Greentown, Ohio, northeast Ohio, and it was an experience. I don't know, about 200 people maybe lived in Greentown, small farming community. We lived in an experience that was bigger than me, it was bigger than all of us. My father had orchards, and we had pears and peaches and berries and all kinds of great stuff, and we traded with the other farmers and our neighbors. We enjoyed successes, and we celebrated those successes with each other. Hardships, we embraced each other. We sometimes would kick each other in behind when we needed it, because that's what neighbors do, and that's what we did in this community. When I got into grade school, all the kids told me I was the poor farmer's kid in poverty, but I never felt like I was in poverty. I ate like a king and shared so many great experiences in community with that small farming community. Into the 50s, 1959, summer of 1959. It was a warm summer. I was almost 8 years old, baseball fan. Cleveland Indians. Boy, I love the Cleveland Indians. It was a great year for the Indians in 1959. This is late August now. There's a 4-game series going on with the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago White Sox. And the Indians had lost the Friday game, they lost the Saturday game. Sunday was a doubleheader. They had just put lights into the stadium, and I'm listening to the game, the afternoon game on my radio that the Indians lost. And I wanted to listen to that evening game, but I had school started the very next day. And my dad says, sorry, you can't listen to that game. You got to go to bed. So, to my dismay, I crawled into bed, and they, my parents kissed me goodnight and all that kind of good stuff. They went down the hallway, and as soon as they were out of ear range, I reached under my pillow for my little transistor radio. And I pulled up the antenna, and I plugged in the earpiece and put the other part in my ear, and I started listening to that night game. That evening game was unusual because there was a fundraiser. They were raising funds for muscular dystrophy. That's hard to say sometimes. But the announcer would come on the radio at every break, at every inning break, and say, we're raising funds for muscular dystrophy. If you could call in your pledge tonight, you could get a signed autograph picture, team portrait of the Cleveland Indians, or a signed autograph picture of the Chicago White Sox. And I'm like, first time I heard that, I'm like, wow, I want a picture of the Indians. And he kept announcing this. They called Glendale 999,000. I still remember the phone number to this day. Glendale 999,000. Call this number, call in your pledge, and get a signed autograph picture of the team, of Cleveland Indians or the Chicago White Sox. I couldn't take it. By the 7th inning, I creeped out of bed, down the hallway, looked down the stairs. Mom and Dad were, I could hear the TV down there. They were quiet. I went back through the hallway, and on the hallway we had a table. And on this table we had this black telephone. It was like a foot tall and 2 feet wide. It was huge. I had never used a telephone before. I'd seen a lot of people do it. I knew how to do it. Glendale 999,000. I picked up the receiver, probably with both hands. I put it to my ear, and I dialed that number. And this lady answered the phone, and she goes, Thank you for calling muscular dystrophy. We'd like to have your pledge, and we'd love to send you a picture, signed autographed picture of the Cleveland Indians or the Chicago White Sox. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, could I have your name? And I said, Lynn Harwell. Your address, sir? 2025 Browse Street in Greentown. And she goes, could we have your pledge, sir? And I was silent. And she goes, sir, we'd like to have your pledge, and we'll send you an autographed picture of the Indians or the White Sox, and we appreciate you calling in. There was silence on the phone. Sir, could I please have your pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic. I slam down the phone, run back to my bedroom, to my bed, crawl back in the bed. That's the only pledge I knew. I put that earpiece back into my ear and listened to the game. They lost that game too, but I didn't think much about it. The next day I started school, a week goes by. And I come home, and my mom says, you've got mail. And I'm like, what? 8 years, I'd never gotten mail before either. Now I get so much mail, I dump it, But this is my first piece of mail I ever got. It was a big manila envelope. What do you think was in that envelope? There was an autographed picture of the Cleveland Indians and the White Sox with a little note that said, Lynn, have a great day. Lady, I don't know who you are, I don't know what your name was, but what you did to that 8-year-old boy changed him. And if I knew I could create that feeling that still gives me goosebumps right now, to somebody else, I want to do that my whole life. It was a life-defining experience. The first time I'd ever felt unconditional love, someone who paid it forward before pay it forward was a popular term, back in that summer of 1959, and she did that for me. And I didn't know her. I couldn't control it. It was out of my control, but she gave me that experience. I got into the 60s now, and I found I loved how to cook. I loved to cook beautiful food. Loved music, got involved with that. Moved through the 60s, which was a great time, it's another story, into the 70s, and I went to school, learned how to be a chef and kind of honed in on my training, and there was family and kids and all that was coming about. Went into the 80s, and I had another great experience. I lived in South Florida for a while. I lived on a yoga ashram for about 3 years. What a great experience that was, sharing community, yoga every single day. We cooked fresh food, local food every single day, and we enjoyed it with each other. It was an experience. I mean, we really meditated over the food. Moved from the 80s into the 90s. Somewhere in the 90s, I moved down to New Orleans, which was my spiritual home. But New Orleans, my goodness, the food, music, the culture, community, neighborhoods, it brought back my childhood. I'm like, wow. I mean, they still do that in New Orleans. It's one of the few places that happens in. So it was a great experience. I move into 2000s. I get to Colorado Springs 2003. I've got a restaurant with a partner here, and we're playing restaurant. I started volunteering at the Springs Rescue Mission. And at the Rescue Mission, another place that changed my life, I started seeing, the charity of folks, and I think about the charity of that lady, and I think how I felt liberated when I was 8 years old by that experience that she gave me. And I think sometimes we talk about charity it's from the standpoint of the redemption of the giver, but charity is about the liberation of the receiver. It's about the liberation of the receiver, those that get that stuff that we do for them that's unconditional. And I saw that every single day at the rescue mission. I also saw food that was not healthy. We were, the least of us seemed to get the worst amount of kind of food. And I knew that had to be changed. Something had to go on. I looked at my lifetime of experiences, and there had to be a better way to do this. Didn't know what that was. Kept thinking about it, and came to a vision of a cafe, and we tried some different cafe models in Colorado Springs over the years. 2012, the name Seeds came down from heaven. Thank you, God. And it wasn't my idea. He sent it to me, or she sent it to me, whichever. And but thank you. And by 2013, the womb of my experiences manifested seeds, and I birthed it. It came out. It created itself. It created itself in community. And we opened, and here we are. We're in Colorado Springs. We're serving healthy food. Anyone can come in and get a great meal, wonderful meal. They can participate. They can cook. They can do so many things. And the food is only the beginning. The food is kind of the starting place. It's about food, but it's about people. I've got to tell you about Terry. A couple weeks into Seeds, we worked with a lot of folks, a lot of volunteers, and District 11, kids with handicaps, disabilities came in. And Terry came in with that group. And they would come in, they'd help roll silverware and help get the cafe ready and do some things that, just kind of working, and we enjoyed having them. And Terry kind of gravitated back to the kitchen. And we knew he liked being in the kitchen. Didn't talk much, he was very withdrawn. But we knew he liked being there. So he would come in every week, and we would put things on the menu like, Terry's burger or Terry's beef stew or vegetable compote or something like that. And we could tell there was joy. He would come in, and we could just tell his demeanor changed. He liked that. And we tried to engage him and stuff, and he didn't do much. But, he stood, and we knew he liked to be in the kitchen, so we let him hang around, and we were always working with him. So one day, a couple months into this, he comes in, and he's in the kitchen, and we're talking to him and going through the normal day, and he breaks open. He starts to talk. Never heard him talk. And we're like, Terry, what's going on? He's talking about cooking. He likes to cook. I want to learn how to bake. I want to do this. And we're like, wow, what is happening? He leaves that day. He goes home. His parents called me and said, what happened to Terry? I'm like, I don't know, but I know what happened to Terry. He was liberated. He was liberated. He found safety. He found dignity. He found the cafe was his home, and something changed in his life, and he changed what was going on in his head, and he started to talk. A couple weeks later, he comes in, and he's got this banana bread. He baked banana bread at home. He goes, look, I baked banana bread. I'm like, wow, Terry, it looks good. I tasted it, and it was good. It was really good. I said, Terry, this is great. I said, if you'd like to bake some banana bread for us, we could put it in our pastry case, and we'll tell people about it, and it would be wonderful. He goes, really? I said, yeah. He goes, how much did you want? I said, well, you could bake us like 16 loaves a week. It'd be great. He goes, 16 loaves? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, it's a lot of bananas. I'm like, well, yeah. Maybe you don't have to do 16 loaves, but you could bake some. And he goes, I'll call my mom and see if I can do it. And he sure enough, he called his mom before he left. He goes, she said I can do it, and I'm going to bring in some banana bread next week. Well, next week, he brings in 16 loaves of banana bread. Now, Terry has graduated that program from District 11, but he comes in every single week. He was in the cafe today. He was on our salad station and making salads, and he's part of our family. He's one story of 100 stories that I have, and I want to tell you some more stories. But what I'd like you to do is come to Seeds and be part of creating and be part of manifesting 1,000 more stories. Come help me do that. Thank you.